Let's talk about our hopes and dreams, beyond the reach it seems. Let's talk, confess I live in hell, I failed to fall in scheme. Maybe we can find a pathway forward or a clue, so we may together be a symbiotic harmony, where I can talk to you, you can talk to me. Let's talk, let's talk. Let's talk, let's talk, let's talk.
Good evening and welcome to the Talk Vermont. My name is Reverend Arnold Isidore Thomas, and we are pleased to have with us today two students, hopefully three before the program is over, from Burlington High School, and we will be talking about what is it like to be a black student in one of the whitest states in the Union. Vermont happens to be the second whitest state in the Union, second only to Maine. So you're no longer a part of that exclusive company that is part of the whitest state in the Union. I think Maine took over that position back in probably the early 2000s. But we are here with Victoria Tuwini and Esther Lakosu,
yeah.
Two students from Burlington High School, and they're going to share their experiences of what it's like to be a black student in a predominantly white school system, even though Burlington High School is probably the most diverse, one of the two most diverse school systems in the state. Still, what is it like? And just to get to know them a little bit better. So we'll start by having you both introduce yourself. Again, whether you were born in this state, whether you're from out of state, as I am. I'm a transplanter, and a little whatever else you'd like to share about yourself.
Okay, I can start. I use she, her pronouns, and I was born in Burlington, but my family's from Nigeria, and they immigrated here in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Great. It's good to have you, Victoria.
Thank you.
And my name's Esther. I use she, her pronouns. My family's from Benin, so right next to Nigeria. Mm-hmm. And yes, we are best friends, so it's
great.
Perfect, yeah. And yeah, that's my story. And they came in 2006.
So you're both born here in this state.
Yes.
UVM Medical Center.
Yes.
Oh, wow, that's great. And ancestrally, you're from next door. You're kind of next door neighbors.
Yeah.
You're from Benin.
Yes.
And you're from Nigeria.
Yeah.
I should let you know that my ancestry is for the most part from Nigeria.
Oh,
as well. So,
wow.
So we're kind of distant, very distant cousins. It's good to have you here. So, also, so can you say you're both born and raised in Vermont, and so you came through was it the Burlington public school system?
Yes.
What is that like? How like I earlier mentioned, Burlington school system is probably the most culturally, ethnically, racially diverse school system in the state, even though, and as I mentioned, this is one of the whitest states in the Union. Does the fact that you're different from a lot of from a lot of the other students, does it make a difference for you? Is it something that you notice? What are the pluses and minuses of being a black student in the Burlington school system and in Vermont in general? Who wants to begin that?
I think I can. I feel like there's not a day that goes by where I don't feel different from my other peers, especially I felt it the most in elementary school. I went to Champlain Elementary for kindergarten through 3rd grade, and then Edmonds Elementary for 3rd and 5th grade. And At Edmonds is probably where I felt the most diversity, and then the next time would have to be in Burlington High School. But Champlain, in those early years, definitely felt isolating at times, or that I couldn't really ever relate, because I also didn't live in the neighborhood that Champlain is in. It's in the South End. I'm from the Old North End, and so I felt like racially there was a gap, and even like socioeconomically there was a gap too. So that added another layer where I kind of just felt othered and didn't really find my clique. And then on top of that, being Nigerian, the only other Nigerian family that I know are my cousins. And so I didn't really, see myself in that way with any of my other peers. So that's how it felt. And I definitely found friends that are BIPOC, Esther being one of them, and I have other friends. And so that definitely helped as I navigated my educational journey.
Victoria, I need to just share, BIPOC is still may not still be familiar to a lot of people. So for especially those who are tuning in from outside the state, BIPOC means, correct me if I'm wrong, Black, Indigenous, People of Color.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of people still use people of color.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how about you, Esther?
I went to Edmonds Elementary for all my years, and I would say it wasn't like as hard as Victoria's experience, and I'm forever grateful for that. But she endured so much, so it's like honorable to have a friend who went through those experiences like she did. And I would say that in the classroom, there was always another person of color in my classroom, and so I didn't really feel as different, but I did feel different when the person of color was a person of color that lived in America all their lives and didn't have immigrant parents and had immigrant traditions like my family did. And so I think it was a very much a learning experience for me. I had to learn that, some parents are different from my parents. Like my parents maybe go to church. My parents made me wear some African clothes. Like it's just like was very different for me in my experience at elementary school. But I had an older brother who a lot of my teachers had, and so they knew my family, my past, and so I thought it would make it a little easier, and it did. Yeah.
Victoria, you mentioned you were born in the Champlain.
Yeah, I went
area,
to Champlain Elementary.
which is in southern
in the South End of Burlington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I take it is probably more white
Yeah, it definitely
than
is.
the North End.
Yeah.
Which is more multicultural, more multiracial.
Yeah.
What you mentioned the difference in economic differences. What other ways that you experience feeling like you didn't blend in with the rest of the crowd?
Yeah, I think I had many experiences, some of them being my brother in 5th grade was called the N-word by a white student, and I feel like that's a moment where I felt like that not only did I feel for my brother, but I also felt like, wow, like that could happen to me. And the kid that called him the N-word was only suspended for about a day, and his parents took him to go to a boxing match. So it wasn't even really like a punishment of any sort. And so I think that was a moment where I felt like, wow, my experiences might not be valued, and if that were to happen to me, there wouldn't be an actual punishment. Another instance was in, I believe, 3rd grade. I was playing Foursquare, which was very popular at Champlain, and a student said that everyone should get me out of the game because I was a disgrace to the human race because I was Black. And that's something that has stuck with me for a long time. And I mean, I told my teacher, but nothing really happened because it was like a first offense, and he, said that he didn't say it. And I've learned to let that go, but I still remember that he said that to me. And as far as like what I mentioned before with the socioeconomic gap, like you said, the Old North End is definitely more diverse. Like growing up in my neighborhood, Esther and I live in the same neighborhood, there were not many white families in our neighborhood. There was definitely like Nepali, Somali, that type of thing. And then the South End, I would say is the opposite of that. And a lot of my classmates were white, and I felt like I couldn't really share my struggles. And a girl I was actually friends with in elementary school, when we were having an argument, she told the teacher that I had called her the N-word to get me in trouble, when I knew I would never say that to her, and she knew I didn't say it. And so that was another time.
Was she a white student? Or?
Yeah, she was a white student. And that was another time where it's like someone that I thought would be my friend and have my back used that hurtful word to get me in trouble, to get back at me in a way. So those are some experiences that I've had where I felt, wow, yeah.
For those who are watching, if you wish to ask questions of our guests, please call in. The number to call is 802-862-3966, 802-862-3966 if you have any questions to ask. Esther, both you and Victoria, you're first generation native-born Americans. In what way, or have you noticed that there are ways in which, because you are first-generation native-born Americans, and your parents were born in another country, yours in Benin and yours in Nigeria, is there a difference that you also have acknowledged between you and other African Americans whose ancestry may be of longer time periods here?
It's definitely, like, you can see it's a big difference because, as I said before, like, family norms and what they ask of you is very different. And I'm blessed to have a family that has brought me on like amazing morals and tell me to be a good person. Like my dad, every day before I leave school, he's like, be nice to everyone you see, be nice to your community. So that's been instilled in me. And I feel like it's very different for people who can say, oh, I'm from here. And then there's like some people who just can't say, like they just say I'm from America. And then I think it's really hard for not to know where you're from, because like everyone always asks, like when you meet people, like that's the first thing that pops up. And so I've seen that. And some of my classmates who just say that they're from America, but then some people say, where are you actually from? And then they can't respond because that's all they know. And so that's been something that I've seen a lot, especially in the classrooms. I go to read to younger kids, and a lot of kids ask those types of questions, and I'm like, my family's from Benin. Where's your family from? And then I have to tell them that it's okay that if you're from America or you don't know where you're from, then that's a learning thing that they have to learn too. And so I think being a first-gen student and like having my family, like it's different for different families. Like I've definitely compared my family to other families, like white families, like why do we do this and why do we do that? But I've learned to cherish that because not everyone has those morals that's been instilled with them. And I think it's because my parents have persevered and gone through so much, like being here in America and doing this all for the first time. And I have 2 older siblings, so they've gone through same experiences as me, sometimes even worse. And so it's a learning curve. Like you have to just learn a lot. And I have to sometimes give my parents grace because this is their first time doing it. And yeah.
How about you, Victoria?
I would say definitely there can be a divide at times, I've noticed, with students that are African American versus students whose families, there's a direct lineage to Africa that they can recall. I feel like there's definitely some stereotypes, like, you know, African students can be called like African booty scratchers and things like that, and then like
I'm sorry, what?
African booty scratchers.
Huh.
Yeah, and like African American students will be called ghetto and things like that. So there's like 2 different sides, and I think that divide can be perceived by white students, but I also think it's the way sometimes they look at each other, like it's a us versus them type of thing. So I felt that at sometimes, and I do agree with a lot of what Esther is saying about like family norms and values and things like that. Like, especially, I would say the biggest culturally would be like when it comes to food and things like that, like bringing traditional food to lunch and kind of feeling ashamed or embarrassed, or like I can remember countless times where my mom had made stockfish the night before and all my clothes smell like it, and I would just be so upset and so furious because I didn't want to smell like that. I didn't want anyone asking me anything about it, or people to like smell inside my locker or anything like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yet, the few times I've been to Burlington High School, even the Macy's section of Burlington High School, there seems to be at least a visible number of students who are from other countries. That's the wonderful thing about Burlington High School. Are there enough individuals students from other countries that sort of lessens the feeling of difference because you're from another, or your parents are from another country?
I feel like at BHS, 100%. I can't say the same for my elementary school years, but at BHS there are definitely so many students from so many different cultures, from Congo, Burundi, Nepal, Bhutan, all these other countries, and it's so nice to see that. And it definitely kind of heals a part of me in elementary school that wish I could have had that. So that like feeling of being othered is definitely way, way less at BHS than I ever had in elementary school, and I'm really grateful for that.
Esther, you want to chime in?
Yes, at Burlington High School, there's so many different people that you see, which is so amazing because like it's kind of looking at the globe, like you're looking in, and it's really nice to hear people's different stories, like also our staff members, the lost staff members that are from different places too. And so it's like an amazing experience because that's what it's been for me since elementary school. I've seen so many different cultures and taste so many different foods, which is so amazing. And yeah, it's definitely been different. I feel like at Edmonds it was a little more wider than it is at BHS right now, but yes, I'm forever grateful for the experience I'm having and have had at BHS. And that's also because like you're getting all the elementary schools and into one place, and so it's like you're getting so many people, so it's just like you're gonna see so many different people every day, and it's just like amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'm impressed that you're first generation native born, not only Vermonters, but Americans. And are there opportunities for your parents to share how life is different from where they were born to where things are now? If you know of that sort of comparisons that your parents have shared, are those kind of stories that makes you appreciate or where you are, or even long for where they were?
Yeah. Definitely when I was in elementary school, I felt like those stories, like I just didn't want to hear it at all. Like how my mom used to get to school and compare it to me. But now I started to cherish it because she's been through so much. Like, that's just when you're growing. You don't want to hear your mom tell her stories. Back in the day, when all that stuff, you don't want to hear your mom say that. But some of the stories are just like, sometimes they bring me to tears because she has endured so much. And it's helped me have empathy for her because I've never been through that. I've been in America this whole time. But being able to go back and see her family and tell the stories has made me feel so appreciative of what she's done for me and my family and what she's doing back home too. And there was a thought that I had, like in freshman year, we had a project to do. It was about talking about cultures that are starting to be erased. And my mom was talking about, I interviewed her for my project. And my mom was talking about how when she went back to Benin just that past year, and I went there too because it was her 30th anniversary for her wedding, and so she wanted to go celebrate with her family. And she's talking about how all the kids, like when she just hears all her nieces and nephews, they speak French. And that's not the native language in Benin. And so I was like, like this is kind of erasure, like this is kind of weird, like they don't speak French in Benin, like that's not the native language. It's definitely a secondary language, but not the native language. Right. And so it's interesting to see that her culture is slowly being erased, but she's instilling in me so I don't forget it. And she wants me to do that to my kids and those kids and those kids, so it's never being forgotten. So I'm very appreciative of the stories that she's told me in the past. But what was a funny thing about that story was when she heard all the kids talking in French, she was like, "Hey guys, you need to stop right now. You guys need to speak in your native tongue right now. Otherwise I'm gonna go tell your mom." And so it was a funny story that my mom told me, and I just love those fun stories, but also the ones that are sad and have a deeper meaning have made me appreciate her more. Yeah.
Thank you. Victoria?
Yeah, I was in the same class as Esther our freshman year, and I did the same resistance project, and I interviewed my mom as well. And we talked a lot about how she attempts to preserve her culture here, and she talked about food, how that's a big one, listening to music, the clothing that she wears, and I was asking her about like kind of differences in the school system, and she talked about like punishments, like if you were late to class, when she was in school, you'd have to go outside and cut the grass with like a pair of scissors. And I was like, I was like, we would not do that here. Or like how, you get hit with a ruler or a paddle. I'm like, that would just never even happen here. Like you'd be sued so quick, So things like that, I appreciate hearing those stories. And I also appreciate her attempt to preserve her identity here, especially because I know it's isolating for her because we don't have much family here. And we really just have our cousins, and that's pretty much it. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, in some ways, you as guests on this program is somewhat unique. I have made it a practice of mine to interview black students every year since the program was on, and from different parts of the state. So this is the first time I've done it with students from the Burlington area. And the unique thing about your presence is that you have a history you can turn back on and learn from and appreciate, maybe even feel embarrassed by, but it's part of your legacy. And many African American students have been denied that history. And so your parents' efforts to try and have you preserve that and appreciate it, I think is a gift that I hope you cherish and continue to pass on to future generations. A few other questions I have. And again, if you, the viewing audience, have any questions, please don't hesitate to call in 802-862-3966. I'm wondering, have there been individuals in your school system, in your learning experience? Are there teachers that you can rely on or relate to? Are there classes that relate to who you are as people of color, as BIPOC students, as black students? Are there programs that allow you to feel connected rather than strange or outside? Tell me about your education program and the teachers or mentors that you find within them.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say I have a handful of teachers that I can rely on, and at Burlington High School, and just as a part of the school district's equity of office, or Office of Equity as a whole, we have this program called the Sankofa Project, which basically, it's a group of teachers and educators and students that kind of work to reaffirm that Black history is American history, and it's something that deserves to be acknowledged and celebrated every day and not just during February. So through that, we've held events like Legacy and Light that really celebrated Black joy and art, and there was drumming and spoken word and music and food. Esther and I emceed that event the first time it happened, and then we've had sharing our stories where it was, we've had one for Black women and then one for Black males with members of the community as panelists to hear their stories and kind of have people that they can look up to. So that's one program that I definitely feel highlights and embraces my identity as being a Black person. Mr. Whitfield, who Esther and I both had for AP African American Studies, that's a class that we both took. And yeah, that having that class and a whole class, whole hour being dedicated to learning about Black history was definitely really important, and I learned so much in that class, so I'm really grateful for that. In 6th grade, I had Ashley Howard as my main teacher, and that's when we definitely started a lot of our like social justice work. And so I'm like, even looking back on it, I'm so glad that she was my teacher. And Esther and I have a lot of like common things that we've done together. So we did YPAR in 8th grade, which stands for Youth Participatory Action Research. We did that in 7th and 8th grade, and that's like a class built into your schedule at Edmonds Middle School, and it was to build off the social justice work that you learned in 6th grade. And Esther and I chose to be a part of the race group, and so we were able to really we learned how to look at data and organize it, and then the 8th grade was the more action-based and oriented part. And so as part of the race group, Esther and I created a teaching tool that we wanted teachers and educators to use to be kind of, to improve their practice and interpersonal relations and curriculum and figure out how to center the students that they're serving every day. And that's a tool that teachers still use to create their goals for the school year. And so having that class was really important for me because I got to make something like that, which I definitely wouldn't have done otherwise or would have the support to do on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Esther, go ahead.
Same with Victoria. I have many, many teachers that support me. I'm also the Office of Equity intern right now, and Autumn Bangora has been such a great mentor with all this work. And I just think that she is such a person I look up to so much right now, and especially during hard times, like she just is always there for me and my family. And I'm just so appreciative of her. I've known her for all my life, but I didn't really know her during elementary school. Like I just saw this white lady around all the time. But yeah, she's been so amazing in our work together. Like she has been with us. We've been working with her since like
7th grade.
7th grade.
Wow,
like,
that's great.
And we've just blossomed our friendship. Like she's like my older mom. Or,
Yeah.
Like she's like so sweet.
Definitely.
And we did the Summer Racial Justice Academy for the first 2 years after 8th grade, where basically it's an academy for students and to talk about problems in our school district and to help change them. And our first year, we kind of built off the rubric that we made in 8th grade, and we created that tool. What's it?
Yeah, it has such a long name.
It's a long name, but we created a tool for teachers to help. I'm starting to forget because it's so long ago, 8th grade, and now I'm a senior.
I don't see any gray hairs. Oh,
they're in the back. But yes, we created a teaching tool. And then our second year, I don't even remember what we did, but we just
we did a presentation on staff accountability.
Oh, staff accountability, yes. And so we've done so much with racial justice work, and I have so much thanks for Autumn Bangor for helping us and blossom in that work. And we're even going to we're going to lead a workshop out this Friday in Montpelier. And so it's just like we've been growing in so much in this work, and yeah.
Yeah, we were able to present at Seattle. We went with Autumn and other adults, and we presented a workshop about what we have going on at the Burlington School District to other educators. And we do peer mediation as well with Autumn at the high school.
Give Autumn's full name so we'll know.
Sorry, Autumn Bangora. Yeah, yeah. And definitely all these opportunities would just not be possible without her. Like, we just get emails all the time from Autumn, oh, you know, there's an opportunity for this, you guys should do it. Or, oh, like, it's my journey in social justice work and just as a student wouldn't be the same if she wasn't there. Like, she drove us here. She just drove me from school for one of the Sankofa meetings. Yeah, so I'm incredibly grateful for her.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the important experiences you've had as a part of this effort at inclusion within the Burlington school system. And that involves both black students as well as white students.
Yeah.
And so say a little bit more about the importance of this kind of inclusion within education, because as you know, the present presidential administration is trying to cut back, if not destroy, inclusion kinds of programs, diversity, inclusion, and equity kinds of programs within the school systems. How do you feel about that? And as in comparison to what you have experienced?
I think when you ask me a question like that, I think about how I shared about my early elementary school years and feeling so isolated and alone. And I think these efforts of inclusion that we're trying to do in our school district are opportunities for students that are coming after us to not have to feel like that. Because I feel like when you have those experiences, you don't forget them and you carry them with you. And your educational journey is so long, it's 12 years, and you shouldn't have to feel like that for any amount of time. And like, I have a younger brother, and so like these efforts to push for staff accountability and for more teachers of the global majority and things like that are, for me, my younger brother's like the biggest motivation for that, to make sure that he has a better experience than I did and knows that, you know, his experience is valued and him being in the classroom is important for other students. And I definitely think it's important for white students, Asian students, Hispanic, Latino students, Native American, Pacific Islanders, all types of students to be working together to do this, because you don't just want one perspective, because it's so closed-minded. You need other students. Like right now in our Sankofa group, we don't just have like black teachers doing it. We have a white teacher, we have an Asian teacher, etc. And I think it's just so necessary, and it allows you to learn. So with our current president really attacking DEI, I just feel like it's just an attempt to really silence and make students feel small. And as a young person, I feel like you can already feel like that, especially like sometimes not knowing if your voice matters or what you can do when things like this are going on. And so I'm definitely against everything that's going on with our current administration. And I'm just really grateful for our school district and our equity office working and fighting, even though that's going on. Yeah.
Thank you, Victoria. Esther.
I agree with the motivation to help the younger generation. I want to work with kids when I'm older, and I want no kid to ever feel like the way I did when I was younger, not feeling that their voice matters. And even now, like, people are so quick to belittle you when you're our age, saying, oh, you're 18, you don't know anything. And it hurts, because you want to be able to feel valued, listened to, being able to be trusted. That's a lot of things that I've struggled with in the past, and I want no kid to ever feel that way, because every kid's voice matters. Every kid deserves to be heard, because they don't know maybe how to express their feelings, but they know what they felt. And no one should ever say that never happened, or no one cares, or no one's going to listen to you ever, because no one should ever feel that way. And just having a world where people are getting belittled so quickly, so easily, and everyone getting pushed aside is not acceptable. I do not stand for that. And it can happen on both sides of the spectrum, and it's really hard for me to have someone say just no. I think we should have curiosity and learn from where everyone's from and where everyone gets their problems from. Like, no one ever knows what's going behind closed doors, and so we should learn and be wanting to learn about where people are coming from. And so it's really hard for me to see people just get belittled so quickly, especially kids who just don't know how to express what they're feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you both for sharing that. Have an interesting question I want to ask you. Before the show, I informed you that my kids were brought up for the most part in Vermont, and now and then I had an opportunity to take them south to visit my relatives in Alabama and in Georgia. And when they went south for the first time, we stopped at a restaurant where there were mostly black people in the restaurant. And I noticed that one of my sons was getting very uncomfortable. When I asked, he said, "I have never been around so many black people before." I'm wondering if you've been in experiences where you were part of the majority. You found yourself in a majority black situation. How did that feel to you? And how is that different from what sort of feelings that you had there compared to how it feels being in a predominantly white setting? If you've ever been in that situation.
I think for me, I play sports, and me and Victoria both, well, I play lacrosse now, Victoria doesn't, but there's definitely a time where, like, wow, this is a white sport. So I noticed quick, like, oh, it's only me and Victoria. But when I went to Benin the first time in 2019 and then the second time, obviously when you step off, it's all black people. Like, you see black pilots, you see just everything, it's all black. But I definitely have a friend group where it's just all black girls, and so it's like, it's been an experience for me. Like, you're gonna go somewhere, you're not gonna see people that look like you. Sometimes you go somewhere and you see someone just like you. But for me, it's also been a little hard because I'm a ginger, naturally ginger, so I've never really met a black ginger other than my brother. And he's actually fading. He actually has black hair now, so. But it's been a hard experience for me because I've never actually had someone actually look just like me. And so, yeah, that's my experience, especially going to Benin for the first time. I think it was really eye-opening. I went in middle school in 6th grade, and so I was like, wow, there's so much black people here. I'm like, this is kind of amazing. Yeah.
And also to connect with relatives and
family members
yeah.
I've never seen before, and seeing my older siblings who have lived there too. It's just like amazing.
Victoria.
I would say when I went to Nigeria, I would agree with Esther. I went in 2016, so when I was in like 3rd grade. But also I went to Washington, D.C. in my sophomore year of high school. And I went to the Museum of African American History. And that was just insane. Like, I saw schools and classes, and their teacher was black, and basically all the students were black, and I was like, I felt so shocked. I was like, wait, I was like, this is so weird. Obviously not weird in a negative way, but it's just so foreign to me. And when we went to Seattle for our presentation, basically all the educators were black too. I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, wow, like there's just no way. Because in my experience in our school district, I don't think other than Mr. Whitfield, I've had a black teacher.
Mr. Charles.
Yes. Well, I dropped the class after, but but I did have him for a couple weeks, yeah. Yeah, so when I've had experiences like that, I don't think I felt uncomfortable, but I just think it was just such a shock. and something that I genuinely had never seen before. Yeah, hopefully I see that more in the future because I would really like to.
So more black teachers are definitely a must.
Yeah.
And also just more teachers to reflect the diversity of the student population.
Yeah.
That's great. That's definitely a must. For those who don't know what Sankofa is, can you?
Yeah. Okay. So Sankofa is a Twi word from Ghana, which means basically to go back and get it and learn from the past to define the future and learn from your history. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because I forgot to, and so I'm leaning on you for enlightenment in this case. What plans do you have after graduation? I know this is probably several years down the road, but do you have any thoughts about what you want to do, where you want to go after graduation?
Yeah, so I want to be a nurse, hopefully working in the NICU. I don't know where I'm going to college just yet. Maybe University of Vermont, maybe University of Virginia. We'll know on May 1st, which is decision day. And yeah, so I don't even know where I'd want to live yet, but I definitely know that I want to be a nurse and I want to help people and make a difference on some of the worst days of their lives. And Esther and I both did BTC, which is Burlington Technical Center. And I'm in the health science program, and Esther did the intro to healthcare program. And on my clinicals, I was able to see so much and learn so much about, taking care of people, and even when they're not even being kind to you, that they still deserve care. So I'm excited to go through nursing school, even though I know it's going to be so hard, but I'm excited to do it. I'm excited to become a nurse and see what's in the future for me.
My wife would be glad to hear that. She's a retired nurse.
Aww.
Yeah, from the University of Vermont healthcare program.
Nice.
Yeah. Esther.
Guess what? I want to be a nurse too.
Are you two sure you're not siblings?
We used to tell people that
We actually did, and they believed us. But yes, I want to be a nurse too. I want to work in the pediatric floor or wing. I don't know where I'm going to go to college yet, but I've gotten accepted into a couple places. But yes, I want to be a nurse. Just this past year, I also experienced something really different. I went on a mission trip with my church district, and so I want to be a missionary nurse where I get to spread the gospel and just to do it with kids. And so that was I got to learn a lot about myself, and so yeah, I just love children so much. I work at my church. I babysit so many kids. I just want to be around them all the time. They're so cute. And I have 2 nieces, and I love them so much, so yeah.
If a missionary nurse, is there any particular place that you prefer over another?
To go? I've only been to, this is my first mission trip ever. I went to Honduras. So it was very beautiful, a lot of interesting things I learned about their culture that I love so much, and I made 2 friends who live there, and I talk and FaceTime them a lot. But yes, yeah.
Great.
But if I would like to go anywhere in the world to be a missionary, probably a place where they've never heard the gospel at all. So that could be anywhere. Yeah, maybe Antarctica. I could talk to I could talk to the polar bears.
Well, again, I am speaking with Victoria and Esther, and if you have any questions from the viewing audience that you would like to ask of them or comment, just call in. The number is 802-862-3966. If you had your life to live over again, how would it change, if any?
We were actually talking about this on FaceTime. If I could live my life over again, I actually wouldn't change a thing, I feel like. I think for me, like when I was younger, I wished for another life. I wished to have a different family sometimes. I wished that I wasn't from Benin. I wished a lot of things, but that makes me who I am today. And so I'm so glad that I've come to the realization that I don't need to be different. And yeah, I think if I were to wish one thing, it was to play sports when I was younger. I didn't get to play sports when I was younger, and I just wish I was more athletic.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's it.
How about you, Victoria?
I think there are so many little things I wish I could change. Obviously, like butterfly effect, like I don't know how life-altering they would be in the end, but there are definitely so many little things that I go back on, and I wish I made more effort here on an assignment, or I wish I wrote this like in my college essay, or I wish just little things like that. But ultimately, I'm glad that my life has turned out the way it was. Obviously, I wish for more money, like who doesn't? Like everyone
Okay,
just,
yep.
you know, college is so expensive. Like I just wish I had more money to have. But yeah, and I honestly, like living in Vermont too, there are so many times where I wish I lived somewhere else. Like one, it's so cold here, it's so white here, like, but at the end of the day, I'm like so grateful, and I don't know what a different version of myself, how they would be if I grew up somewhere else. Like, I'd like to think I turned out good for what I went through and where I live and things like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to know that the University of Vermont is one of those prospect schools that you're considering, along with the University of Virginia. Yeah. I guess one of the questions I really want to ask, and let me preface that question by saying when I came to Vermont for the first time, it was between college and seminary. I was going to school. My seminary training was going to be in Connecticut. I grew up in Ohio. And so I came to Vermont the summer between my graduation from college and my entrance into seminary. And that was a long time ago. I won't tell you.
Okay, you don't have to.
But Vermont was definitely more white than it is now. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, I cannot foresee any future that includes Vermont. Mm-hmm. And strangely enough, I ended up in this state. Here. I was invited to come to Vermont as an executive minister over all the congregational UCC churches in the state. So that was my entry into Vermont full time. Who knew? I certainly didn't. Do you see Vermont possibly in your future?
Victoria likes to play a game where she goes around the hill section specifically and says, "This is the house I want." And so I think she's going to come back. I will probably come back too, because I just hope that my kids will have some of the teachers I had who are amazing. I love them so much. But for a little while, I have to leave. Just for a little while. Just experience something new. But maybe, yes, I think I have a future of coming back. It's very safe. I love it. The mountain, so pretty. And ice cream. I love creamy so much, and so I need
like
that.
Creamies?
Yes, I could eat a creamy every day.
Yeah, like Esther said, I do like to, window shop what the house is and kind of look around and write down, okay, I'm coming back here to buy that house. So I definitely could see myself coming back to Vermont and living here and starting a family here. And this actually connects back to the other question you asked about, things that we wish we did differently. I definitely wish I had the opportunity to be like more outdoorsy and ski and like hike and like take in all the nature that like Vermont has to offer. So if I move here in the future, that's definitely something I'll do on my own with friends, with future children, things like that. But yeah, I love Vermont. And like Esther and I went to New York when we were on our way back from
Seattle.
Yeah, from Seattle. We went to New York City, Times Square, the most overwhelming place.
No.
I was clutching Esther the whole time. I was like, please, I'm scared. So like, I don't think the big city life is for me, and I like that small town community feel that Vermont and Burlington has.
Sometimes, though, it gets annoying when you see someone on your walk
Yeah.
that you don't want to see, but I love it's better than having way too many people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Vermont. It's nice.
Well, my time here in Vermont as executive minister was about 7 years. We've been here, my family have been here since '98.
Wow.
So we've been here for well over 28 years.
Wow.
But there was a part of that period where I spent roughly 10 years commuting from New York City back to Vermont and back.
Wow.
And it was part of the contract.
Yeah.
I was minister, one of the ministers at Riverside Church in New York City, and so during that experience, I invited my kids to come visit me in New York City. And we went to, and one thing about New York City is that you have the plays, you have the opera, you have all sorts of cultural events. But yeah, we were in Times Square too. And my daughter was in tow with me. I had her tightly, and as we were crossing a street, one of the streets, the sea of people were coming in the opposite direction, and she lost my hand. And I thought, I was looking around, Adrian. And she was yelling back at me, Dad, where are you? And so we finally found, but I can relate to the overwhelming number of people that makes a person like me being in a state where, you know who your neighbor is. You may not always like your neighbor, but you know what they're all about. And it's nice. It's nice to feel this as a kind of retreat from the big city. But it's good. So if you had anything to say to people who are not part of Vermont, as a black person in this state, and also given the political climate that is existing throughout the nation, what would you want to share with them as a black person living in Vermont, and also in light of the not so welcoming, hospitable climate for people of color, for BIPOC students, for any sort of marginalized community? What would you want to say to America, to the world beyond us, as well as the people here in the state?
For me, in the past couple of weeks, we have seen ICE come into Vermont, and it was so amazing. I was like scrolling on social media and seeing how at this protest where they're just coming to get this family, or I don't really know the whole story, but it was all these Vermonters, all these white Vermonters, and there was no black people, and I was like, wow, like they stand up for us and they support us even though we're not there. And they know that if we were coming there, we'd get antagonized, hurt by the police. And so it was really nice to see that Vermonters stand up for each other. And I don't know what to say to America, but just choose kindness, because someone's going to need it. And I've known that for my whole life, that you don't know what's happening behind closed doors, and you just, sometimes just a smile on your face can make someone's day.
Yeah. Thank you, Esther. Victoria?
I would definitely urge them to think beyond themselves. Even in our high school, when you hear students say things about like how if they could vote, they'd be voting for Trump because he has their best interest at heart. But I just feel like people really need to learn to look beyond just them, because one, you can't just think about yourself. There's so many people that live in your community in this country who might not have someone to advocate for them. And so it's important if you could advocate for them and use your privilege to make a difference in their life. And I also think, we always think, oh, if I was in that situation, I would do this differently. But it's like you don't actually know till you're in that situation how it feels. So I just really want people to have more empathy and just really be there for each other. Like Esther said about choosing kindness, it sounds so simple, but I feel like
It's really hard this day and age.
yeah,
Yep.
it's really
Yep.
hard. And also like Esther and I really care about like fostering the young generation and like, I wouldn't say generation, but the kids that are younger than us in elementary school and stuff, and kind of start those ideas of equity and inclusion early, because that's what makes adults who have other people's best interests at heart, and that's what makes adults who care about others in their community. So I definitely say to teach those that are younger than you, teach those that are older than you, and also keep learning yourself, because we don't all know everything. Like Esther and I are sitting here working and doing things for the Office of Equity, but there's still so much that we have to learn. So I'd say keep learning, keep growing, and yeah, just be a shoulder to cry on for someone.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
You mentioned ICE, and there have been some cases where ICE agents have come into this state and taken a person who was legitimately a resident of not only the state but also the United States, and you don't hear from that person again until the ACLU intervenes or some judiciary. Do you have that fear?
That's a hard question to ask. I feel for me, sometimes like my parents are like freaking out about it, and I'm telling them, no, you're an American citizen, you're gonna be okay. But then I think about that these people are American citizens and they're still getting hurt, and so I have that fear for my parents. And I have that fear that they can't advocate for themselves because they might think that they can't, what they're going to say is not good enough. And for me, I'm taking AP government right now, and so I know my rights, and I'm trying to like tell my parents, like, you have these rights, make sure you say this. And so I don't have as much as a fear of that for me, but I do for my parents.
Yeah.
And for my classmates too. And so it's like a fear of everyone. I'm scared for everyone and myself too, because some people might not think that what they're saying is not good enough for these ICE agents, and it's very scary to live in a world where it's supposed to be free. You're supposed to be in a free country, and someone can just take you away. And so, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Esther. Victoria.
Yeah, I think for a long time I felt like, oh, like I live in Burlington, I live in Vermont, I live in New England, this is not gonna touch me, you know, it's not gonna reach my community. And even like weeks ago when everything was going down in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I was like, I felt for them, and I also felt a level of protection. I'm like, okay, this is Vermont, like everything is gonna be fine. Like I'm gonna be okay, my family's gonna be okay, my community's gonna be okay. But then as it slowly starts to creep into our daily lives, and we're scrolling on social media and we're just seeing videos of people being wrongfully taken, citizens being taken, it just gets really scary. And I remember I was going to Montreal with my brother on my birthday because I turned 18, you know, wanted to do something fun, go shopping, like stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, well, you know, it's just like an hour away, 30 minutes away. So we went in the morning, and then I'd come back and my mom's like, oh, where'd you guys go? I was like, we went to Montreal. And she was so upset because about what's going on with ICE, and she wanted to know where I was, and I was saying how like, oh no, but it's okay. And she's like, but it doesn't even matter, because it doesn't matter whether or not you're a citizen, they're just taking whoever they want who fits that box for them. Mm-hmm. And so it definitely is scary. And like when you see about the little boy from Winooski School that was taken to a detention center in Texas, like it just feels like it's starting to suffocate us slowly. It's just coming in, and it's so heavy. So I still don't have that much of a fear for myself, because I know that I'd be able to, like Esther said, advocate for myself in a way that others wouldn't. And like even my little brother, he came home with a little pamphlet that the administration had given them for his school, and it was like, if an ICE agent comes to you or at your door, like, this is what you can say. And it's just like the fact that it's getting to that point where it's like a sixth grader is getting a pamphlet about what they have to say if ICE comes. Like, that is it's so heartbreaking, and it's really sad to see. And it's definitely hard to have a lot of hope that things will get better, but I definitely really hope that things will get better. And it's also really hard, even the system where it's like the things people are saying, like, oh, you can just come here legally, and just like the system is so hard, and it's set up in a way that it's so hard where it's like people are on the way to their court cases, they're getting pulled by ICE, but it's like they're trying to do it the quote unquote right way. And so even little things like that, where people are saying things like that, it gets me really upset. Yeah, so I don't have that fear as much for myself, but definitely for my parents, for others.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you both for being a part of this program. Victoria, thank you. Esther, thank you so much. For viewers, you need to know that these Burlington High School students are going through a transitional period. Right now, your classes take place in one of the downtown mall areas, Macy's, and you're having classes there until your school is finished, because it's going through a building process. And when should that happen? When should the building be finally complete?
Well, it's the next class after us is gonna start their school year in that new building, and so it looks done, but not all the furniture is inside. So like, still teachers have to move in the stuff that they brought in from the old building and move it into the new building. So it's not fully done yet, but yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that you'll have an opportunity to graduate from that new facility.
Yes,
so
sadly.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. And until next time, we thank you for being a part of this wonderful program. We thank Esther and Victoria for being our guests.
Thank you.
Our next program, which will hopefully be the first Tuesday in May, we hope to feature the State Director of Racial Equity, Susanna Davis. Ooh. And so we will hopefully see you again. And until that time, we ask you to be kind, be brave, and be blessed. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you.
Let's talk about our hopes and dreams. Beyond the reach it seems. Let's talk. Confess I live in hell. I failed to fall this game. Maybe we can find a pathway forward or a clue. So we may together be a symbiotic harmony where I can talk to you, you can talk to me. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's talk.